Well, good morning, everybody. It is week 2 of going to school. As you can see, I got a haircut. Shit was getting way too long. I was overheating like a motherfucker everywhere I went, so it was time to chop off the mop. But yeah, so it's week 2. After last week, I'd say going into it, I'm definitely not nearly as nervous or anxious anymore, which is cool. But I have a feeling that because last week was syllabus week, now things are about to turn up a notch, I have a feeling. And so I'm assuming that this week things are going to start ramping up and we're going to start, getting assignments, scheduling tests, quizzes, all that fun stuff. So that's kind of my expectations going into this week, is that things are about to get a little bit more serious. And yeah, so, but yeah, last week I had that math test I was talking about. Not that it wasn't for any marks, it was just like a comprehension test. But it's funny because I was studying for it, just trying to, recall a bunch of the pre-calc material. And I spent the day before the test studying, and then in the morning I spent like 2-3 hours studying. And I was feeling really, really good about it going into this little test. And then as soon as I sat down, it was only 10 questions. I sat down and I was doing pretty good. I know I got at least 4 or 5 right, but then like the last 5, I just completely blanked on, like completely could not remember any of the order of operations. And even just like the simple, like the things that, because I used to be really good at math, not that I'm bad at math, but just because I haven't done it in so long, I've forgotten all like the little tiny things that just kind of allow the operations to work when you're like solving or simplifying equations. And so it was fucked because it's like I studied for, multiple hours, 2-3 hours in the morning, went to this test, was feeling really confident, and then I went in and just totally blanked. And it was funny, I was doing a couple of the questions and I thought I was doing really good and I was, showing all my work. And then I got my solution, I go and check the multiple choice answers, and I don't even have one of the answers that's like provided. So I was like, fuck, I really messed up somewhere along the way there. But it's all good because I after asking you guys for some help, I had a lot of people basically suggest to learn from Professor Leonard on YouTube. And so that's what I've been doing the last, over the weekend, just to kind of like keep refreshing myself. And it's really good. He's actually like really, really good. He breaks things down in a way that's really easy to understand. So to all of you guys that suggested that I use Professor Leonard to help study, thank you very much, because so far it's helping a lot. So I'm going to continue to use that to keep studying. But yeah, so I've got a couple things on the to-do list today outside of just going to school that I need to get done. One of them is that I need to, not necessarily today, some of this is for like stuff throughout the week, but one of them is I need to pay my tuition for this semester, which means I need to wait for my student loans to hit, because I am broke. And as soon as those hit, I'm going to be using that money to pay for my tuition. And then on top of paying off my tuition, I also need to get textbooks this week, which is, holy fuck, textbooks are ridiculously priced. Like, if anything's a scam in university, it is the prices of these textbooks. Like, dude, I like to read books, and some of the books I buy are like 400 or 500 pages, and they're like 30-40 bucks. I went into the library the other day, and there was an English textbook. It was like this thick, maybe 100 pages. It was $180. $180! What do you mean? That's fucking insane. So, yeah, I'm just waiting for my student loans to hit so that I can actually, pay my tuition, buy some of these textbooks, because right now I'm broke as a motherfucker. So for right now, I am basically just driving to school. My first class doesn't start till 10, so I'm gonna head to the library and do some more pre-calculus, just studying, so I can, keep learning and getting better. And then, yeah, I think that's pretty much all I got for right now. But the classes I got today is, my first class at 10 o'clock is computer science, and then I have English, and then at the end of the day, I have my other computer science class, and I think we're actually doing a lab today. So I'm gonna head to those, and I'll keep you guys updated throughout the day, and then, yeah, we can just keep chatting about it. So I'll see you soon. Well, that's a wrap on my first 2 classes. Just got out of English. She let us off early, so that was cool. But yeah, so far, so good. First class was computer science. So the big thing that they're teaching, at least in this first term, is just general software development. And then we're going to be programming in C++. And I've done a little bit of programming in C++ before. So a lot of the stuff they're going over is like stuff I've kind of already heard before, but it's still cool to get a refresher, just kind of going over the different data types and then just kind of the structure of how a C++ program even works. So, you start with your libraries that you want to include, and then you go down into, I believe he called it just like the, I can't remember exactly off the top of my head here, but it's basically like you have your main section where you include all your libraries, and then it'll be your int main void where you start doing like your main programming, and then you'll have all of your other helper functions underneath. So we were just kind of talking about that, and then, yeah, went to English class, and now I just had lunch. I've got 1 class left today. It is my web applications programming class, and I think we're actually gonna be doing a lab today. So I'll catch up with you guys after that, and then yeah, I guess we'll just go from there. Well, that was super easy. I basically walked into my applications programming class, and well, okay, I'll give a little bit context first. So this applications programming class is basically, it is the first class that they recommend you take when you going through the computer science program. And so it's like super rudimentary and simple. And so I walked into class today thinking that we were gonna have a lab, which we did. But my instructor goes, so for anyone that's basically comfortable using computers and has a little bit of experience, this is gonna be really easy for you. For anyone else, obviously stay. But she said, basically, if you finish the lab assignment, you can just leave. And so I was like, okay, bet. So I opened up the assignment, and it was literally just to create an Excel sheet and then populate it with, you know, just different data types. So I did it in like 15 minutes, and then she was like, if you want to leave, because it's a 2-hour lab, she's like, if you want to leave, I'm not going to care, just like you can get up and leave. So I did the Excel spreadsheet, and then I just dipped. So that was really fucking easy. Now I'm just on my way home, gonna probably have something to eat, and then I'm gonna go and hit a workout because it's earlier now, so I don't have to deal with all of the after school workout crazy people. So yeah, that was super simple. I do have a couple things I want to talk about once I get home, but we'll save that for when I'm back in my room. So talk to you then. All right, well, I just got home, and so I was talking about textbooks this morning. Well, I've been spending a lot of my day on Facebook Marketplace trying to get a better deal on these textbooks because so many people go to university and they try and sell them after just because what do you really need it for? So I now have to go back to the university so that I can go and buy this textbook, but it's at a steal of a deal. So I'm definitely going to be doing that. But I do want to talk about a couple things before I do that. And one of them being that last week in my applications programming class, we were talking about data. And so I thought it was really cool. And the way she explained it was really sweet. How it's like data works like this. So everything starts in the real world, right? In the real world, we generate rules, or excuse me, let me back up. So in the real world, we have rules and we have information and we have all these things in the physical world that we know as people and humans, right? So in the real world, we generate information. Now that information can be manually entered by us, it can be generated, it can be from crowdsourcing, it can be imported, all these things. So now what happens with that data is we then take the information from the real world, and then we have to give it and collect the data and then present it to our computer systems in a way that they understand. So that is done with like data types. So things like text and character strings, dates and times, images, sounds, videos, special formatted data. So we take that information from the real world and then we give it to our applications where it is then stored in a way that the computer can understand, right? So then once it is stored inside the computer system, that's when we can either use it, store it, or manipulate that information and data. At that point, then, with context, we can use that data to create applications or softwares, which are then presented back to the real world for people like you and me to use. Now, that was really fast, but that's kind of like a just fast kind of overall explanation of what she was going over last week. And I just thought that was really cool because I never really heard it described that way. So I just wanted to share it with you guys because I thought that was very interesting. Now, the other thing I wanted to talk about today, which comes from this book that I'm reading, which is Influence, the Psychology of Persuasion. And it's basically this idea of social proof. All right, quick scene switch. I am meant to finish that topic in my room, but I'm running out of time to go get this book from this lady, and I really need it. So we're going to do this while I'm driving. But essentially, this idea of social proof and how if you want other people to do something, you're more likely to get that. You're more likely to get it out of them if there's social proof of other people getting the same results or all thinking the same way, if that makes sense. And it was basically talking about in the terms of like, so let's say you're having a stroke, right? If you're having a stroke and you're in a public setting and you need someone to help you, like you are in need of assistance, one of the best things that you can do is that instead of just like, if you just sit there and you start falling over and all of a sudden you can no longer move, one of the things they recommend doing is, because if you're just sitting there making you don't look like you're in an emergency situation, the likelihood of someone coming to help you is very unlikely. But if you were to say you start feeling like something's wrong and you are having a stroke, if you were to point at someone, directly point at them, and basically give them the role, assign them the role of the rescuer, it is a lot more likely that they are going to, so like literally point at someone and be like, I need help. And especially the words help, it triggers something in our brains to basically be like, okay, this person actually needs assistance. So if you point, let's say you're in an emergency situation and you need help, and you point at someone, you go, I need help, and you directly specifically point at one person, the likelihood of them coming and helping and at least getting that next level of emergency awareness, or at least getting other people aware, even if they don't have the right training to help you in that moment, if you assign them that role of the rescuer, they are more likely to actually act and help you, and then other people are more likely to actually come in and draw, because there is now social proof that you are actually in need of assistance. And so essentially, social proof can save your life, because if you're in a public setting and you need help and you label someone as the rescuer and say, I need help, it is 10 times more likely that the other people are going to catch on and help you. The other example they use, and this one goes more for women, is a lot of the time if you're in public and you see a woman and a man out in public and they're arguing, most people assume right away that it is some sort of romantic lover's quarrel, right? So it's like a lot of the time people will not intervene in those situations because they don't feel like it's their business to be stepping into someone else's relationship and solving those problems, if that makes sense, right? And so what the book suggests is that if you are a woman and you are being assaulted by someone, the first thing that you should do is always yell, "I do not know this person." Because as soon as people know that this man is not your boyfriend or is not your significant other, and you yell, "I do not know you," people in that environment are going to be way more likely to step in and actually do something because they now know for a fact and have social proof that you guys are not in a lover's quarrel and that something else is going on. And so it is a lot more likely that you will get assistance if you first yell, "I do not know you," because now it breaks this barrier and the embarrassment of stepping into someone's relationship and inserting yourself into it. So I thought that was also interesting. And then just for an example, but basically I was going to my English class and I was trying to find my room. And I saw that the door was closed, but it had the room number on it, and no one else was going in. There's a couple of people waiting. But then one person came over, opened the door, and walked in. And then as soon as I saw them walk in, I realized through the social proof that this was my classroom. It wasn't the class beforehand. So then my brain was like, okay, now you have permission to go and enter this classroom. So I thought that was also interesting because my brain subconsciously used the social proof, used the principle of social proof to then decide whether or not it was the right move for me to walk into that classroom today based on what I was seeing in my environment around me. So I thought that was interesting because I was actually able to use the information from this book and see it in action today in a situation that I was in myself. So I thought that was also quite interesting. But anyways, I'm on the highway now, gotta go pick up this book. I will let you guys know how it goes, and then I'm headed off to the gym because gotta get a pump in today. So yeah, talk soon. Let's fucking go! Got that bitch. $15. The original price was gonna be like $40, so steal of a deal. Let's fucking go. Super happy about it. Now it is time to go to the gym. So yeah, I'll see you guys after that. Gym was a success. As you can see, got a good chest pump, got a little bit of tricep action going on. So yeah, went good. Road to 185. Here we come. But honestly, that's about all I got for you guys today. Hope you enjoyed the video, and we will see you in the next one.